There are so many women who want to be pregnant, dream of being pregnant, and are suffering so much emotional and physical pain because they cannot be pregnant. And that's why I always feel super guilty when I say, with every fiber of my being, that I hate being pregnant. I tried to keep my good fortune in mind as I waddled around in constant pain, and when I got this random disease that made my hands and feet itch uncontrollably, and when I had weekly/daily panic attacks. Because even though all that stuff isn't great, I have 2 healthy babies, and there are so many women who have it so much worse. But honestly, pregnancy traumatized me. And I've noticed that when other mothers speak fondly of pregnancy and its fun little nuances, it makes me defensive. And if I'm not careful, that defensiveness easily turns into annoyance and then anger. But it's hard to fathom how we could have both had the same experience and feel so differently about it. And that right there is the hardest part about being a mom. We all have the same job, but we're all doing the job so differently that it's hard not to assume that one of us, and I usually think it's me, isn't doing the job right. It starts with pregnancy, something so many of us experience, but all experience differently. I'm fully aware that a person who doesn't feel the way that I feel about pregnancy has to think that I'm just being melodramatic. One of us has to be faking it, right? And so it continues. Some moms think a home birth is the only way to go, and those who were ripped in two and stitched back up are left feeling almost personally attacked for their choice of a hospital stay when a mom casually mentioned she gave birth in the living room. Some moms love nursing, while others' bodies make it hell on earth. And no matter how cautiously or sensitively we talk about our mothering decisions, it's inevitable. We'll strike someone's insecurity every once in a while. Another one that was hard for me was the newborn phase. After my first child was born, I just have the 2 of them, I was baffled. So many people were dying to smell her head and were willing to hold her for more than 10 minutes at a time, regardless of how much she cried. I loved my baby, but in the beginning, I was more obsessed with the concept of her than the reality of her. Like I said, she cried a lot, and she only, and kind of still does, liked her dad. She didn't love napping and was super annoyed by people bugging her. And by bugging, I mean they wanted to look at her. And so when those other mothers would want to hold her more than I did, or discuss how precious and fleeting that newborn phase was, it made me think I was doing something wrong. I just wanted it to end. I felt guilty and self-involved. But I just couldn't devote that much undivided attention to a person with literally no vocabulary. I didn't realize it was just the hardest part of being a mom, creeping in again. We're all doing the same thing, but it all affects us differently. Recently, I've decided that if I want to continue working as much as I do, I have to hire at least a couple days of childcare. Until now, I've gotten by with my husband's flexible work schedule, the fact that I sincerely hate sleeping, and a generous grandma that lives nearby. My husband has been stretched and stressed beyond belief trying to accommodate his growing work schedule and mine, and he can't understand why I won't just hire at least 1 or 2 days of help. He doesn't get that if we let anyone help for any amount of time, it's like I'm admitting to everyone, I'm admitting it to myself, that I can't hack it as a stay-at-home mom, and that I love the work I do as much as I love my children. And that makes me want to crawl in a hole in shame. I respect other working mothers, and I don't look down on them, but I can't seem to give myself permission to do what I honestly feel is going to keep me sane as a mother. And then I ask myself, why do I feel differently than moms who are happy at the park, happy to make dinner, and remember to brush their kids' teeth? Maybe I don't feel that differently, I think. I'm probably just more selfish, weaker. Maybe I'm just the bad mom. And that right there is the hardest part about being a mom. Because when we feel differently than other mothers, when we feel differently than we thought we would, we're worried we're doing something terribly, horribly wrong. And so I just wanted to say to myself and every mom I could get to listen, we're going to disagree and we're going to feel threatened or maybe even attacked when somebody who has shared our same experiences feels differently than we do. But it's all okay, because all of us moms, the ones who are worried they are doing a terrible job, have one thing in common. We're all doing the best we know how. So without getting preachy, maybe just cut yourself some slack, and I'm going to try to do the same. And cut the hippie next door who let her children watch her water births some slack too. Because we're all in this together. We're all at times feeling horrible about it. And we can all turn to one another a little more often and say, hey mama, you're doing the best you can, and your best is good enough. And that's what we all have in common.